there may be an amendment to the amendment based on what Representative Howard has expressed, but we'll see where that goes. HB215, requiring a landfill permit applicant to submit a report listing potential harms and benefits of the project. That is a bill that was discussed, and it is also an early bill, so we do have a little bit of need to address this. That was discussed this morning in the subcommittee, and Representative King, would you like to bring us up to date on what was discussed?
Actually, I'd like to punt to Representative Germana to explain, if you would be so willing.
It is punted.
Thank you, Representative King, and thank you, Madam Chair. So we had a good discussion of 215 this morning. What we realized was that when I asked OLS for an amendment, what I asked them to do was to replace the section number 1 and leave sections 2 and 3 untouched. What they gave us back was just section 1. They have left out the second and third sections. So I believe that we had consensus about the amendment. We just needed to ask OLS to restore the sections that were left out, and then we would be ready to bring it to the executive session next week.
Okay, awesome. Representative Comtois.
Thank you. Could you just speak to what the amendment is based on the original bill, please?
Thank you very much, Representative Comtois. I've got 3 landfill bills in my head at the moment. So in this case,
your head's full of trash.
It is, that's right, it is. It is. Man, I set you up for that. So what we did based on discussion that we had in the previous work session was, number 1, to define a process whereby a third party would be contracted. So what DES would have the applicant submit a list of at least 3 potential parties. DES would work with the host community and the applicant to try to find a mutually acceptable third party. If after 60 days an agreement hasn't been reached, the commissioner will choose one. The other thing that we did in the amendment, which I feel very good about, is that we have also added some things that can be factored in for potential benefits. Right now, the primary potential benefit is defined in statute as capacity need. There are a couple of other things, but it's primarily capacity need. This amendment will actually add in the consideration of possible economic benefits for the host community, as well as potential improvements to infrastructure. And the purpose is to really provide a true balance. If we're looking at what are the possible benefits, what are the possible harms that we are, the purpose of the bill is not to say that you can never cite a landfill and we're only going to pay attention to harms. So it develops a list of potential benefits that is meant to provide a true balance between harms and benefits. And then finally, it articulates how a first stage of review would take place. The net benefit analysis would be an initial stage of review. DES would be able to seek guidance from some other agencies, and that's a language that I worked out with Director Wimsat in order to be able to come to a judgment about whether or not net benefit exists, and then whether or not the proposal could go forward from there. And the other thing that, and this goes to something, a very helpful point that Representative Comtois made in our discussions in terms of defining net benefit. In the first paragraph of the bill, we have a specific definition of what it would mean for the department to determine that a net benefit exists.
Madam Chair, may I?
Sure.
Could you tell me what that definition is, please?
I apologize for not having it on hand. When I went to get it printed, the copier upstairs was not working this morning. So I'm trying to find it in my emails.
You can blame that on me. I gave them a copy and it jammed.
That's right.
It was.
Sure, it wasn't purposeful.
It was.
I was wrapped in a paper bag.
Yeah.
Right. I am trying to find it. I think this is it. We're on 215, correct?
Correct.
So the language language says a net public benefit exists if potential benefits for a proposed project are determined to be greater than the potential harms.
Did you get that? Yeah,
And I can send this around
yeah.
to the committee. I intended to have a hard copy to give to everybody today.
All right, so you're working on that. We will discuss it again in work session next week. And hopefully, we'll have an amendment in hand that we can vote on in an exec session next week as well. If we, in the work session, we see that there's something in the amendment that we feel needs further work or whatever, we could push off that exec to February 19th. But the bill does need to be out by March 6th, I believe. Yep. So it is an early bill. We need to make sure we get that taken care of.